Let me move you on to something else that is happening right now, and that is these farming protests. Welsh farmers gathered in Cardiff to protest, obviously, about all manner of things. And there are different reasons for the protesting that's taking place. I was watching a film this morning, but primarily it sort of hinges on this whole idea of a public system of payment, the sustainable farming scheme that would pay farmers certain amounts of money to meet certain conditions, such as having 10% of farmland for habitat. And this is key, everybody. It was quoted this morning that all of this needs to take place by 2030. Well, we all know what's happening for 2030, UN sustainable goals. And that's really what I think is taking place here. But what's your understanding of the Welsh farmer protest, Jim?
Well, they're starting to get organised, and there's some serious numbers being talked about. I put out some posts yesterday about that. There's a lot of heavy equipment being lined up. Of course, the big difference between the farming protests that we've seen starting in Wales, but in particular on the continent, especially in France and Germany, is unprecedented, because when you have protests like the Gilets jaunes or the Yellow Jackets in France facing up against lines of riot police, they don't really stand much of a chance. What we've seen with these heavy machines, though, is that they just knock the barricades out the way. Water cannon isn't effective. Rubber bullets don't work. And if the farmers really chose to, they could overturn those water cannons. I've seen them push armoured vehicles completely out of the way. And of course, they get sprayed with liquid manure, which is pretty unpleasant. And the police tend to run very quickly when that happens. So if they really chose, they could really shut down Wales. And of course, if the UK farmers start to see that happening, because there's been some small sort of groups in Scotland and various other places talking about doing some things, but it hasn't really gone on yet. I'm just waiting for Jeremy Clarkson to come out in his Lamborghini tractor and lead the movement. With over 7 million followers on Twitter alone, he would be the rallying call. He would be the voice to lead. And if that happened, I think the whole country would come out in support of the farmers. Whether he will or not, we don't know. But I've certainly called for it. And I think he's aware of what I've said. So we'll wait and see. But I wish the Welsh farmers great success. I may be heading to Wales to support them.
Ooh.
We'll have to wait and see. I was over in Ireland a few weeks ago, taking place in a march there to support the Irish people. So I'm very happy to come down to Wales as well. We'll see what happens from there. But yes, it's looking like it's going to kick off.
Really interesting. Some of the farmers that I was listening to in the report today, they're saying we're struggling to survive now, and this is going to make it harder. They're saying that the fact is land would be taken out of production, jobs lost, and the whole plan is that the land would be used to mitigate climate change. There it is. That's the key thing, isn't it, Jim? That's what's really going on here. It's all about this net zero target, which I'm not entirely sure where you stand on it, but I think the whole thing is a scam personally. What's your position?
Total scam. Look, the World Economic Forum are a very extremely deeply sinister organization that are working in lockstep with the World Health Organization, the United Nations. And you talked about the 2030 agenda. If people realize what that actually is, they would be horrified, because in fact, I may do 24, 25 points in the UN agenda. Yes, this is all about control. They're looking to ultimately put farmers off their land, as they've done in Holland, with over 3,000 farms being expropriated, seized, in other words, forcibly. And we need to take a stand to support our farmers, because what the World Economic Forum, run by Klaus Schwab, wants is total control of the food supplies. If they can force people into compliance by saying, do what we say or you don't eat, then that's really where they're going with this. And don't underestimate them one bit. It's got nothing to do with the environment. It's all about controlling us, the people. And they are a very sinister organization. You just need to watch or look at what he wears. He looks like something out of Emperor Palpatine's wardrobe in Star Wars. People laugh at him, but he is quite a dangerous guy. I think he's insane.
No, true. Absolutely true. And the thing is, I think, Jim, if we were having this conversation like 5 years ago, there'd be much more people saying, oh, this is just pure conspiracy theory. But we have now seen that you can get your neighbors to rat on each other for going out for half an hour longer each day. We've seen people fighting over loo rolls in supermarkets, right? So we've seen how people behave when this sort of pressure comes down. So, yeah, I think this is very interesting development.